You are listening to the Pro-Black Perspective on KWAZ Radio. Welcome to the Pro-Black Perspective, where black problems are addressed with black solutions. Your host tonight is the author of the Pro-Black Compendium and Zuberi and the Maroons of Maa, the Pan-African Nationalist, Oni. Oni, what are we discussing tonight?
Peace, family. Emotep. I come in peace. What's going on? Today we're going to discuss the Christian propaganda. And this is actually an important subject to discuss. And it was a discussion that you voted for. So on my Twitter, I put up a question of, what do you want me to discuss for the next podcast? I had 3 choices plus other, which you could specify. And the 3 choices were, of course, Christian propaganda, a repatriation conversation, a conversation on two individuals discussing repatriation back in the 19th century. And of course, I was going to also discuss the universal translator, and that would be a device that we as a people could build, should build, and it could assist us in building with our people, Me personally, I thought that would have been the best subject to discuss. Almost feel like, why don't I just go into it right now? But it's all good. If people want to hear about the Christian propaganda, that's also important. Because all of these subjects are important. Everything can be analyzed. You understand? Everything can be analyzed, and you can gain a deeper understanding through analysis. Analysis is utmost, and in fact, I'm going to honor you guys with a lecture by a particular individual. At some point, in these future books, I'm gonna show you guys a good an analytical tool for you. And yeah, by the way, I don't usually mispronounce that word. I just hear so many people mispronounce it. I just, you know how it goes. Anyway, so check this out. Let's talk about Christian propaganda, though. So I got these 2 leaflets, right? I got 2 leaflets, and this is very important. They're printing out leaflets for their belief system. That's already the first thing you got to realize. They are printing out and handing out leaflets for their belief system, and on it has a church. Don't need to tell you what church it is, right? Just looking into it, the church has an email address. The church has a website. They talk about their they have a location, obviously. They have their, let me see. It looks like they have a Twitter handle. I'm not too sure about that. But they tell you when their Sunday service is, both of them. Their Wednesday service, they have free round trips for Sunday services. All you got to do is call, And they have 3 locations. Well, it looks like they have 4 locations. No, they have 3 locations for their Wednesday service. 3 additional locations for their Wednesday service. So as to say that this is a church that, first another thing you can tell is that this church is making money, right? And you realize that this church is providing a free round trip, which is really instrumental. Because that means that they have their congregation mobilized to do within the realms of that community. And like I said, this is really important because when we talk about individuals, because there was a sheet, apparently there's a sheet circulating around by white folk talking about, different black YouTubers and saying, their opinion on these YouTubers. And 2 of them they said, oh, we think these people might be FBI agents. Okay. And they were talking about Tariq Nasheed and Yvette Carnell. So Yvette Carnell is, of course, I don't know if she's heading it or not, but apparently she's big in this, this DOS movement that people don't want me to talk about. And Tariq Nasheed's also, obviously who he is, right? And it's important to realize that the accusation of FBI is not something to take lightly. But at the same time, you have to realize that Malcolm X had. There's a video of Malcolm X being like FBI agents recording him trying to give him money in order for him to sell out, and he refuses it. And that's a really important thing to realize, in the sense that whereas we may think, hey, the FBI wouldn't use somebody in the limelight as an FBI agent, because that sounds stupid. Why would you use somebody in the limelight, right? Clearly they do if they're going to Malcolm X. And clearly if Malcolm X were to say, yeah, okay, I could do that, now maybe they might have an agenda where they say, okay, well, we exposed you, because you said yes, and yada, yada. But maybe it might be that they say, okay, all you got to do is say so on and so forth, so forth. Technically, I should have listened to the video, and maybe because that might be in the video. Who knows? But I'll probably do that later. But the whole point, the real crux of it is that they do actually approach people in the limelight and say, hey, look, with this money you can do so on and so forth. And you do have videos of Al Sharpton making cocaine deals for the, but that's a whole other story, right? But the whole thing is that the main thing is, would Tariq Nasheed or Yvette Carnell, two people who are begging black folk for money all the time, and I'm not saying that's good or bad, because I'm about to hit y'all with a commercial, right? But what I'm saying is that two people who are begging black folk for money all the time, would they say no to the FBI? And that's the big question. You understand? Would they say no to the FBI? Because, even though I'm asking you, FBI ain't going to ask me. They know who I am. You understand? But one of the main things reason why I wanted to bring that up is because, even going back to Malcolm again, it's about whether you have a program. You understand? Malcolm approached Carlos, like I told y'all. He approached Carlos A. Cooks, which I got to remind you is probably one of the best people for you to read. Period. Okay? But he approaches Carlos A. Cooks and he says, why can't we work together? And Carlos A. Cooks tells Malcolm X, he says, look, we can work together when you get a program. You understand? And the situation with the two people who are alleged FBI agents, they don't have a program, right? And the reason why I bring this up is because for the longest while, as long as, even before you knew me, I had this website called the African Blood Siblings, and we were discussing how to how we need to have a program of building community centers. And you see what this church is. It is a community center that mobilizes and organizes people around an idea of an a-spirituality that is, Christianity, right? Where, as opposed to what I was telling people to do, which was to build a BOCO, community center, yada, yada, that focused around a spirituality or nation building. You see what I'm saying? So basically, this right here is the opposite of what I'm trying to accomplish. I mean, you can't see me holding it up, but these pamphlets are the opposite, but they kind of represent what it is that is effective. What's effective for people to get things done? You understand? Because again, they are mobilizing their congregation to pick people up free back and forth. And on that note, you could see that, you could see that very clearly. Okay, you can see that very clearly. So I want to open up these pamphlets and read them to you. They're very short. If I want to say they are, let's say, I'm not really good at measuring. I'll say they are 4 by 4 inches, right? And if anybody, no, don't even, what I'm saying? Don't even think that I'm familiar with that. You know what I'm saying? Y'all like, how do you know what 4 inches is? No, all right, I'm just going to say that it looks like it's 4 by 4, right? I'm not even going to go on that right there. All right, look. So it looks like it's 4 by 4, right? So it's very small. It's printed in color, and when you print stuff in color, it kind of shows that you got money. You know what I'm saying? Because you can print it in black and white. But let's see, what else can I say about this? Like I said, though, really important. And that's this important thing too. I tell people that when you're making a communication, you want to have an instruction. So one of the instructions at the back is worship with us. Worship with us. That's the thing. That's the whole reason for this pamphlet is to get you to worship with them. You know, so even though it might come off as informative, it might come off as so on and so forth, the whole idea is that they want you to worship with you. And that's something that we don't do when we communicate with each other. Like I said, you go through the tariqs and the events, they're not telling you to build with us, per se. You know, they might say pick up a DVD, they might say, you know, donate a little money, they might say yada yada, but they're not telling you to build with them. These people right here, even though they're not saying build with them, and that's really something important too, because they don't want you building. You understand? They don't want you, like, this is like the opposite of the ABS BOCO. This is the opposite of what we are accomplishing. Okay? We are building centers for nation building, and they built centers for national destruction. Do you see what I'm saying? So they're telling. So what I say is, hey, look, the way we do this, we build these centers. Okay, this is the program, right? We build these centers, and notice this: no one is telling you to build anything. No one is. They're saying, hey, look, man, buy my DVD. You know, donate, yada yada. But they're not telling you to build anything. And if you want a preview of what a center can look like I said, go to the Pro-Black Compendium. Read the book. The book is like a center. You know, if you can't physically meet in a building, at least you have intelligent discourse, you have community events, you have programs that you can do personally, right? You can do personally or with a small group of friends. But these churches, what they show you is that you can organize, as long as you have a center, you can organize people for even their own destruction. And that's what these churches are. So I'm gonna read to you these two programs. These two pamphlets or whatever, right? And you'll see what I mean. Now, some of you might actually have these pamphlets. If you do, I'm sorry. But I'm not going to try to advertise this particular church to you. Okay, I'm not going to tell you where to go or whatever. If you really feel like you need to do that, you know, you could just turn off this podcast. Just turn it off. And never listen again, right? Because this is stupid stuff, right? So check this out. All right, we're gonna go into it. So the first thing is truth what I believe, right? That's the question they asked. They say, is truth what I believe? And I'm just gonna read through it first, and then we could go back and I'm gonna read through it, hit you with a commercial, then we can go and dissect it, analyze it. Then I'm going to read the next one, hit you with a commercial, obviously, and then we can go back and dissect it. And the only reason why I'm hitting you with these commercials is because I have 3 I need to play. You understand? Because I have 3 I need to play, and so I'll just hit you. I mean, technically, I could just give you one long commercial, and if you would prefer that, you know, so you can skip through it apparently, because I know y'all not even listening to it, right? But if you prefer that, just hit me up in the comments. Say, you know what, I'd rather a long commercial so I can skip through it, and I'll know to block you. You know? No, I'm joking. No, but you got to understand that you know, you have to understand that you shouldn't just absorb things for free. You have to do for others too. If people are doing for you, do for them. And I mean if they're honestly doing for you. You know, like I said, you don't support agents, you don't support, you know, turncoats, you don't support people in interracial relationships and none of that stuff. But if you see people are doing for you, do for them. You know, that's the reciprocal relationship. That's the balance. That's the ma'at. That's your spiritual system. You get what I'm saying? This is the A. I'm about to read you some A spirituality. Okay? You need to follow your spirituality. And see, the A spirituality is not going to tell you to follow your spirituality. You know, they're going to tell you, look, what about you just give to people who ain't going to give back to you? You understand? That's what you're doing in church. But we're talking about reciprocity, and that's that's your way. And if you don't know that's your way, you should read 2,000 Seasons, okay, by Maa. Read 2,000 Seasons, and you'll see that they're talking about fighting for our way, and what that our way means is reciprocity. All right, so let's go back. So I read the cover page. So it says, the wisest president who ever lived. Hundreds of people wanted a piece of Abraham Lincoln's attention. Greed, lust for power, and hunger for the spotlight brought many people to the president. Lincoln, a keen judge of character, became skilled at exposing their hypocrisy, lies, and posturing. A favorite method involved posing a riddle to the scam artist. Lincoln would ask, if you call the tail of a calf a leg, then how many legs does the calf have? When told the answer was 5, Lincoln would respond, the calf only has 4 legs. Calling the tail a leg doesn't make it one. Okay, I know I said I wanted to just read through this. No, actually, I'll read through it, but we'll go back to that, right? All right, so sincerity is all that matters. Many people claim there are different ways to get to heaven that are equally valid. They think as long as people are sincere in their beliefs, they can believe anything they want and God will accept them. A friend of mine had a customer at a gas station near Chicago that insisted that any sincere, good person could believe what they want, and then go to heaven when they die. When they were through discussing religious things, the customer asked the way to get from Chicago to Milwaukee. My friend answered, drive in any direction you want. As long as you are sincere, you'll get there. Pretending that conflicting and contradictory claims can all be true doesn't make them true. The wisest one who ever lived. No one has ever lived who's wiser than the Lord Jesus Christ. His words when asked the way to God the Father's house were, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto heaven but by me. Head in any other direction, trust in the instruction of any other person, count on receiving eternal life in any other way, and we will never arrive in the Father's house in heaven. Jesus Christ is not merely an interesting or wise historical figure with a personal opinion, but the always existing Son of God who came to save mankind from their sins. The Jewish people clearly understood his declaration of himself as God when he said, before Abraham was I am. John, whatever. He said, the Son of Man is come to seek and to save that which was lost. He died on a Roman cross, was punished by God for the sins of others, and shed his blood, which cleanseth us from all sin. Then he rose from the dead, went back to heaven, and sent an invitation to us. Believe on the Lord Jesus Christ, and thus shall be saved. And thou shalt be saved. We can come only through him to be with him forever. And who knows what to believe? Pilate, the Roman general who condemned Jesus to death, Pilate, anticipated the excuse many people today make for not believing what Jesus had said. He asked, what is truth? Or in other words, who knows what is really true? The driver wanted to get to Milwaukee, wouldn't have been any more satisfied with the answer, who knows, than he was with any direction you want. Will you respond to what Jesus Christ has said about himself? Okay. Yeah, all right, remember this now. Now, this is why, even though y'all vote for white folk, okay? Y'all vote for white folk. So, when I tell you to vote on my Twitter for the next podcast, you're supposed to vote. You're supposed to share it, spread it out, have people vote how you want, because I don't know why I just read this. I really don't. But we're going to hit up a commercial. If you really want to have some good reading, you read this Carlos A. Cook's book, all right? We're going to talk about the Carlos A. Cook's book next. Hit me up about that. But otherwise, I really don't know why y'all have me read that.
Greetings, everyone. This is Koku from the Bitter Medicine Podcast, inviting you to tune in to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio.
Peace Seeker. This is Oni from the Pro-Black Perspective, and we need power. Power will not be handed to us. We need to build power. But in order to build power, we need a power blueprint. You need to study the best blueprints available. You have Garvey's. You have Wilson's. You have Williams. You have mine. Now, you'll have Cook's. Carlos A. Cook's was Garvey's best student. The greatest mind in the world from 1940 to 1966. Yes, the greatest. Yet Whitey doesn't want you to read his blueprint. Cook's blueprint isn't religious. Cook's isn't for integration. Cook's isn't for communism. Cook's isn't even for anti-blacks. Cook's blueprint is for Africa. And Cook's blueprint is the unknown blueprint that was the basis of black power as we know it today. When you say buy black, you're talking about Cook's. When you say black is beautiful, you're talking about cooks. When you say Malcolm got something right, you're talking about cooks. But Cook's blueprint was lost, and Whitey is hiding that blueprint behind a $1,000 paywall. He's hiding solutions from you, telling you you need to take out a small loan to get the information that can liberate you. Whitey does not want you to have solutions to your problems, but you need solutions. You need power. I will give you the Carlos A. Cook's Reader, valued over $1,000 at a 98% discount, $15. Send $15 to cash.me/$ABS-ONI with the subject Carlos and your email address, and I'll send you the ebook. We need power. You need blueprints. Start building today.
You are listening to the Pro-Black Perspective on KWAZ Radio.
Okay, so we're back to this this thing. Really depressing. Can't believe I read that a second time, but here's the third, right? So let's start it off, right? The wisest president who ever lived. Okay, first off, you already heard what he said. That Lincoln thing was so stupid. Now this is the trouble with this. This right here, this propaganda, right, would be really effective if you are not very thoughtful. If you're not a thinking person, this would be incredibly effective. Okay, this would be incredibly effective because the right answer is 5. You understand? Now, a lot of times because what I notice inside of the conscious community again is that we like wit. Okay, so in a sense, this is witty or an example of what could possibly be witty, but this in particular is really stupid. Anybody who's convinced off of that, we failed them. We failed them as a people. All right. But reading this again, when told the answer was 5, he's like, no, the calf only has 4 legs. But if the premise is you would call the tail a leg as well. So if you would call, so it's either the answer is 5 or the answer is 1. You understand? Because you're calling the tail a leg. And so maybe you might say, well, I'm not going to call the legs the legs. But to say that you're not going to call the tail a leg at all, even though the whole premise is if you call the tail of a, it's really like you'd have to be an idiot to like you'd have to be really stupid to think that's a proper response. Like a really, really stupid, it's unbelievable. All right, so, but again, like I said, that can coax somebody who's, like I said, and that's the trouble. And notice this too. There's 2 different pamphlets. Okay, so these 2 different pamphlets say, hey, look, even if this doesn't work on you, maybe the next one will, and that's important. Now for this next one, they're talking about driving from Chicago to Milwaukee, driving in any direction you want. The reality is one that actually you could drive in any direction as long as you made the turns. So on and so forth, and really like, yeah, like you could drive, northwest, southeast, or whatever, and still, eventually end up somewhere. The question of when you ask for directions is not so much the one route as much as what would be the most efficient route. You understand? It's not the one route that you're at. There's not any one route from one place to another place. You get what I'm saying? It's like the shortest place between 2 lines, 2 points is a line, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean that there's no other way to go. You could go in a zigzag. You can go in a hyperbola or parabola or whatever. You could go on a you could go on a half triangle or well, not a half triangle, but you could go in semicircle. The point is that there's more than one way to go from point A to point B. The idea that you're going to use as an example of, oh well, I don't know, you can just go wherever you want, is ridiculous. Another thing is, look, the word God, I felt uncomfortable reading it. I'm actually, next time, I might just take it out and just say a spirit or aspirate, right? Aspirate, which is basically, it's the antithesis to spirituality. Again, this person, they literally took what you would believe, which is, as long as you are sincere in your beliefs and believe anything you want. No, as long as you're, well, whatever. Another thing is this heaven. Get that out of your head too. Get it out of your head as well. Just get it out of your head. It's already, and you could see how much is loaded in it. You see what I'm saying? It's already loaded. Like, you already are programmed to understand what they're talking about. So for this next book, I'm editing certain things, and a lot of our ancestors would talk about heaven, would talk about what they call God, or they talk about Jesus and Christ and all that stuff, right? And it's like I had to edit that all out. I had to edit it all out because those concepts are already so loaded that that you're pre-programmed to fall for this okie doke. The only way to get to heaven. If that's already your ambition, you're already in the Christian faith. You understand? You're already in the Christian faith. Like when people say hell and devil, you're already in the Christian faith. Or the Islamic faith. You understand? You are, like, don't use those terms because you're fighting, it's an uphill battle from there. Now, if you say afterlife, different story. You see what I'm saying? If you talk about ancestorhood, different story. You understand? In fact, if you say ancestorhood, you're talking about our spiritual systems. Right? If you talk about the afterlife, you're still talking about our spiritual systems. Right? But when you start talking about heaven, okay, you done messed up. And see, Dr. Ben, that's one of the people that I had to edit, obviously. But Dr. Ben, he would say heaven is between the legs of a black woman. You already, you can't go against religion and then at the same time say heaven is, because you're already, or people who say the black woman is God or whatever. You're already using their terms. You understand? You already lost the fight because you're already falling for their okie doke. See, it's not like you said the black woman is Amun or the black woman is Ma'at. Ma'at being, very accurate statement. You would say, if you were to say a black woman was, you would say a black woman is Amunet. You understand? Or you might say Amun and Amunet. Or something along those lines. Or the black woman is Mut. Something. That puts it in your context. You see? You're operating now in your context, and when you start operating in their context, in order to get to heaven, you got to do so. You already lost. You already lost. And these people right here, the ones I'm holding in my hand, they want you to talk about that, like talk like that. This is why I got to edit this out of my book, because you don't need your kids using their terms, because what happens when you look up? Like, I'll show you an example. What happens when you look up the word God? Because if you're just a child, you want to look up the word God. What happens when you look up the word God? God, in Christianity, is the eternal being who created and preserves all things. That's the first thing you pick up. Einstein's letter belittling God. This is the top stories. Einstein's letter belittling God. Ben Affleck turns to God. Do man's rights come from nature's God? Church militant says that. And then Wikipedia pages God. You know what I'm saying? And then dictionary says God in Christianity and other monotheistic religions. You get what I'm saying? Or even here, Wikipedia page for God. In monotheistic thought, God is conceived as blah blah blah. Right? And then for one of the early links is God in Christianity, God the Father, God the Son. Basically, you see that it's all Eurocentric. Now, what happens if I look up AMON? Let's see if that one's better. Yeah, boom. Let's see. Nah, because that's another thing too. White folk like to take your terms, So there's a problem there. Well, actually, this one right here, the first thing, Wikipedia page, Amun, and it says it may refer to different things. Okay, so they spell it differently. AMUN, Amun. So let me search that. Just regular search, Google search that. Amun. Yeah. Boom. Now, they do show a picture of a white man, but it says Amun was one of the most powerful gods in ancient Egypt. At the height of Egyptian civilization, he was called the king of gods. Amun was important throughout the history of ancient Egypt. However, when Amun was combined with the sun god Ra, he was even more powerful, right? But you see how they just jumps into blackness, right? Now, let me see if this will work. M-U-T, Mut. No, because, see, they got Madden for some reason. I don't know why, Madden. But you skip down, and you got Mut as a Wikipedia page. And again, they show like a yellow complexioned woman. But it says Mut, which meant mother in ancient Egyptian language, was an ancient Egyptian mother goddess with multiple aspects. Now, of course, you already see that they're going to say it's goddess and God and yada yada. But at the same time, it centers you in blackness. You know, they're gonna now, because you're on their websites, you're on their internet. They're gonna hit you with a bunch of white and lightened images. You know, but at the least, they're not hitting you with Ben Affleck. They're not hitting you with Einstein. You understand? They're hitting you with something that you and your young people can take away, and that's the big difference. You can't take anything away from this whole heaven, Christ, God thing. No, you understand? You know, like eventually, if you look deep into Mut or you look deep into Ma'at, you can find black images. You know, so like let me go Amun back. Let me go back to Amun. Search images. Yeah, you got the falcon. You got the black-bodied falcon. You got somebody doing concept art. You know, a brother doing concept art. Looks like a black action figure. Actually looks pretty lit. Might just be the like I'm gonna consider it for the I mean, I don't know if this is the brother or not, but I'm gonna consider this for the for the cover art. But the whole idea is that regarding the whole idea is that you can find images of your people. So the young person might not necessarily like the young person inside of the whole Christ thing is going to be steeped in, you know, the image of these white boys. You get what I'm saying? Or the whole God thing going to be steeped in the beliefs of white people. And that's what you're promoting to them, even though you might say otherwise. You might be like, yeah, I'm just talking about it because don't even try to relate to people on a level that white folk really, really, really relate to people. You understand? Don't try to do that because it's failing. You know, it's failing. But let's go forward. So, like driving in any direction, you actually can drive in any direction. Let's say, and then they say pretending that conflicting and contradictory claims can all be true doesn't make them true, right? This is just them trying to be logical, if you will. It's not logical, right? But it's not really something that you could say according to what was read earlier. But they're saying that in order to intellectually disarm you. You understand? They're looking to intellectually disarm you, and that right there is fundamental, right? So let's go forward again. The whitest one who ever lived is Jesus. And they're like, and look, this is the thing here too. So they're saying, well, Jesus said, I'm the truth. He says, I'm the way, I'm the truth, and that's it. And they're like, well, he wasn't a random person, but he always existed, and he was the son of, you know, like there's no proof there. You understand? There's no proof. It's just oh well, he said so. You know, it's kind of like the whole, you know, I'm white and I said so. You know, so it's like, oh, I'm well, I guess the way how this would be is that I'm Jesus and I said so. You know, that's it. You understand? No proof. The only proof is, well, you know, well, we say so, he said so it's true. You understand? And they said, and they actually double down with that. They go and he says again, before Abraham was I. You know, and then again he says, the Son of Man has come to seek and to save that. You know, that's it. You understand? The whole everything that they reference, with the exception of Pilate, right? Everything that they reference is it's from their own book. You understand? It's like if you were to, you know, like if you'd open up the Pro-Black Compendium and I said, look, man, this is the. I mean, I actually did do this. I guess I can't front, but when I go, you open the Pro-Black Compendium, you say, look, this is the best book. Well, I didn't say this was the best book, but I said another book was pretty good, right? But I said, but it's like opening up a book and saying this is the best book, and then having the nerve to cite it. You get what I'm saying? Like, for instance, I tell people, hey, look, Zuberi and the Maroons of Maa is really like top tier book. Like one of the best books, right? And I put it down in the Pro-Black Compendium. I said, look, if you're gonna read other books, you should read the Zuberi and the Maroons of Maa. But I wouldn't use that as proof that Zuberi and the Maroons of Maa is a great book because I wrote it in the Pro-Black Compendium, another book I wrote. That I wrote it in another book I wrote that is one of the best books. That wouldn't make any sense. And if for somebody else to say, hey man, the Zuberi and the Maroons of Maa is one of the best books because Oni wrote in the Pro-Black Compendium that it's one of the best books. You want to be like, well, where's another? I would want another review. Now, of course, you can see other reviews online. You understand? You can hear other people talk about, other people who read the book and say, yeah, it's a great book, and that's a better, that's more authoritative. But to use the same book, you understand? To use the same book and say, well, that's what makes it the best book. You done already messed up. Now let's see. So the next part is the part on Pilate, right? And so the part on Pilate. Now this is actually pretty interesting, right? Because Pilate, I am not too sure if there is an actual reference of Pilate. Because I think that if this happened, Pilate, should necessarily have some sort of reference to it. Outside of this book. You understand? Let me see if I could. I'm gonna just search that quickly. Yeah, so the idea is ancient evidence for Jesus from non-Christian sources, and so that's the question that, there's a website right here. So they got Tacitus, Pliny. Let me see. See, my thing is I'm trying to look to see if they have any evidence of Pilate, yeah. And it don't seem like that. Let me see. Yeah, all right, so this website might be a little biased against Christianity, but it looks like they're really looking, and the whole thing is that no, there isn't, and this is it too. If I murder somebody, right, or let's just say, let's just go back to that. If I murder somebody, right, and then later on somebody told me, hey, you know what, that person's walking around and they're alive, I might mention that somewhere. You understand? The fact that nobody's mentioning it, like in real life, and the thing is that obviously the reason why they're not is because that don't make no sense. You don't really die and come back like that, right? But I'm saying that would be an exceptional historical event, like truly exceptional, like you don't even understand how exceptional. And the fact that nobody seems to mention it except for within this book kind of tells you all you need to know. You understand? Because again, that's huge. And bear in mind that this is Pilate is not like the person that they accuse of doing this. Pilate is not some small character who don't know how to read or write. Okay? some illiterate who doesn't know the value of writing. Apparently, he is a prefect serving under an emperor who apparently adjudicated a trial. Right. So what I'm saying, reason why I'm saying this is because this person likely had a journal, had a diary, had something to the effect of like they would probably record this kind of thing. Like, yo, can you imagine I tried to, I executed somebody and they were alive. Like something along those lines, or even like really, like that's huge. That's not, that's nothing like to like, because I'm pretty sure he has some records. I'm looking at it right now. I don't really care to be honest. But maybe that's something for you guys to look into. But let me see. Yeah, like I said again, I'm looking at this other page, and they're like they don't really have anything on this dude. They don't really have anything on this dude outside of Christian literature. And that's like really, that's really telling. Because again, if you killed somebody, right? If you like, let's say shot somebody in the stomach, right? And then the chest, then the heart, and then you threw them in the water. Okay? You threw them in the water and you saw the bubbles and you stopped seeing the bubbles. Right? And then they walking around fine and dandy, in 2 days. Right? Are you going to be quiet about it? You understand? Are you going to be quiet about it? That don't make no sense. You understand? And not only that, but even if you did do that, right? Even if you did do that, you would murder the person again. Because if you get a death penalty and you start walking around alive, which don't happen, they try to kill you again. I mean, like if they fail the first time in doing a death penalty, they try to kill you again. You're not off the hook. You understand? Anyway, but again, but that's another thing too. It's like you got to realize what you need to know, what you need to understand in order to even dissect this. And then of course it starts with the whole, come worship with us, yada yada. But you have to know what's going on in order to dissect this, because you see the arguments that they make. Right? They say, hey, look, a wise person says, you got to call it like it is, right? And it's well structured. And that's something that, see, you're not producing any pamphlets that are well structured. Okay? You're not producing any pamphlets that are well structured. This right here is a small 4x4, well structured. Okay? Well structured, and they're saying, what's truth? This is truth, according to us. But you don't know it's just according to them. They're telling you, hey, look, it's truth. Because see, what they do is that they cite several different books within the same book. They're like, oh, well, John said this, and Luke said this, and John said this, and Acts says this. You know what I'm saying? So it sounds like, oh, well, we don't refer to several different books. But it's the same book. You understand? And of course, some people might say, well, actually, there actually are different books that were collected together to make one book. No, they're different books based off of the same, like written during the same time period. They're basically one book. Different chapters of the same book. You understand? They're different chapters of the same book based off of the same idea, of the same story, of the same lie. You understand? It's like the Harry Potter series. You might say, hey man, they're all different books. But if you put it and you might say, well, if I got the collector's edition and I put them all, I bind them all together, then it's not one book, it's still several different books. Sure, but it's based off of the same lie. There's no Hermione or whatever, or there's no Harry Potter. You understand? Or Dumbledore, well, I don't know the names. I'm actually doing a pretty good job. I'm kind of embarrassed about that. But I mean, I think I'm doing a pretty good job. But the whole thing is that none of them are real. Or like the Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings, might you say that's one. It's not one book technically. The Hobbit. It's not just the Hobbit is one book. The Lord of the Rings is another book. So you might say they're all different things. They're all the same book. Or like even you go to comic books. You know, you say the Black Panther got a novel, this, blah, blah, blah. It's all the same thing. If you guys collectively make up a lot, and remember, Black Panther's not written by one person, written in one generation. So you might say, well, there's a lapse and all that, you know, yada yada. I don't really know the details of that. But the whole point is that you can do that. It's not impractical. It's not impossible. You understand? You say, let's make up a guy. Because essentially you got to realize that the story of Jesus comes from the ancient African story of the boy in the manger, right? But it also comes from a little bit of Heru, comes from a little bit of other people, other individuals as well. So so basically everybody knows these fables, knows these stories, and one group decides to write them, but also put some creative flair based off of the stories of the past. You get what I'm saying? So they're making it up, but they're making it up based off of older stories. Just like how, you know, some of y'all know what this Dragon Ball Z is. Dragon Ball Z is based off of I think the Wukong guy, right? So just the Chinese people got a story. I can't remember, but they have a Monkey King, the monkey Sun Wukong. Sun Wukong is the Monkey King. It's a Chinese classic novel, Journey to the West, from the 16th century. I just looked it up, right? So the 16th century Chinese classic novel called Journey to the West, right? And that's where Goku from Dragon Ball Z comes from. You get what I'm saying? It's so they already know this story, but they're borrowing from their past. Just like how some people say Superman is borrowed from the story of I think Heru, maybe, right? It's just you know, or even like the Jedi, you know, Star Wars is borrowed from older stories, older narratives. A lot, like sometimes when you're telling a story, you're just retelling an old story in a different context. That's what the ancient people did that too. You get what I'm saying? Ancient people did that too. And you don't get that. You don't get that. So let's go to the next one. Woo! I'm just going to read it, then we're going to hit you with that commercial break. And yeah, let me know if you'd rather me just do one long commercial. But hopefully you show me a receipt that you already bought the book, so that I know that it don't make no dang sense for me to do a more inefficient commercial system. All right, so let's go to that one right here though. So this one really like irked me, matter of fact. So it says, "Am I ready for eternity?" Right? That's the title. And it says, "Today your hands are busy, your eyes are watching, your mind is thinking, you are planning for the future. Tomorrow all may be still, folded arms and closed eyes remains, but you are gone to eternity. Others used to be busy like you are, healthy as you are, unconcerned as you are, they are gone to eternity. The laughing voice, the clown, the talented artist whose presence made theaters and movies attractive to you are gone. They have moved from activity to reality, the reality of eternity. The shrewd merchant whose voice was so familiar to you in the crowded market is silent. He no longer buys and sells. He has entered eternity. Your own turn to enter eternity will come soon. Ask yourself honestly, am I prepared for eternity? Give your conscience time to answer. Listen, it speaks to you today. Don't drown its voice, or it may not speak again. Let the heaven and hell of the future fill your mind in all their reality. One of these must be your eternal destiny, and today is time to make your choice. Your tomorrow may be too late. You may be one day too late. For which are you living? To which are you traveling? Then they start quoting, the same book. Like I said, they're quoting the same book. It's an authority. All right. These shall go away into everlasting punishment, but the righteous into life eternal. Believe on the Lord Jesus Christ, and thou shalt be saved. If you are unsaved, seek you the Lord while he may be found. Call ye upon him while he is near. Let the wicked forsake his way, and the unrighteous man his thoughts, and let him return unto the Lord, and he will have mercy upon him. And to our God, for he will abundantly pardon." Oh yeah, I forgot I was going to say aspirate. But anyway, the world is a sinking ship. Let us suppose a vessel is floundering out at sea, exceedingly rotten and leaky, filling fast. From shore, a lifeboat is launched and pulls alongside the doomed vessel. The captain of the lifeboat calls to every person on board to leave the old ship immediately, but the people on board resolutely refuse. One says, "Our vessel is not so bad. She only requires a little mending and painting." Another says, "Get out of here with your lifeboat. We have a carpenter of our own whose job is to mend the ship." Some go on with their partying, while others occupy themselves with emergency tools and paint. A few see their danger and take advantage of the only way of escape. The vessel fills and sinks. Now tell me, if everyone left on board ship drowns, who is to blame? The lifeboat was sent to them and they refused. Christ is the lifeboat. He came to save as many as you will have him. Blessed are all they that put their trust in him. And then here's the quote from the same book: "How shall we escape if we neglect so great salvation?" Right? And then, like I said, they say, "Worship with us," and they give you all the information, and that's it. You know, again, another color print, another so on and so forth. But that's what they give you, and you know, I'm gonna hit you with that little commercial. You know, hopefully we get to keep the lights on. You know, we get to keep the lights on.
Greetings, everyone. This is Koku from the Bitter Medicine Podcast, inviting you to tune in to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio.
Black people face one problem: the problem of ignorance. This is why those who opposed us stole us from our parents, disconnected us from our continent, and enforced on us illiteracy. But now the ignorance is self-inflicted. We send our children to their machines. We detach ourselves from our motherland, and we don't read meaningful literature. Consciousness is a series of stages. The sooner we get to one, the sooner we are ready for the higher. The Pro-Black Compendium accelerates the beginner to the advanced and provides for the advanced an unparalleled breadth. This is the sort of book your enemies do not want you to read, but our ancestors would insist you read twice.
You are listening to the Pro-Black Perspective on KWAZ Radio.
All right, so we're back. What can I tell you? We're back. Yeah, so like I said, now this one really irked me. Matter of fact, I was supposed to get my other book. Darn, I forgot to get it. All right, so there's this other book called... No, don't even worry about the title. Get my books, all right? So in that book, they're going to describe to you what was said in ancient Kemet. And in ancient Kemet, they said, look, be a scribe. Be a writer, because when you become a writer, that's the only way that you could be saved for eternity. You know, kind of like how you could read Carter G. Woodson today. You get what I'm saying? There was a lot of black Christians in the past. You don't know any of them. Basically, you hardly know any of them. I mean, compared to how many there were. You know, we're talking about millions, 10 millions, actually probably even closer to a billion, or maybe even more than a billion. Point is that there's a billion of them. You hardly know them. But there were so many black writers, and you don't know as many. You don't know, all of them, obviously. But the reality is that you know a lot of them. I mean, you know them compared to the amount of Christians there were. You know them proportionately more so, right? And the reason being is because writing really does preserve you for an eternity. Preserves your voice for an eternity. You understand? It preserves you for an eternity. I don't want to say eternity because eventually your books are gone, obviously. But what I'm saying is that you like the pursuit of writing is actually a really great pursuit. We have writing from 5,000 years ago. Matter of fact, this for what it's worth, this Bible is written like 2,000 years ago. You get what I'm saying? and it's been preserved like that. You know, few translations here and there, but this is the storybook of a bunch of dudes in the past. Bunch of, I would say, white boys in the past, right? That's a storybook. And they preserved that story for 2,000 years, and to the point where they got people driving people for free, round trip, to go and read what they wrote. You understand? So again, you know, like the thing starts out, you know, today your hands are busy. You know, yeah, your hands should be busy. What you worried about? You know, the thing is the afterlife thing. And the thing is, like I say, they don't even go outside of their book to say, hey, you know what, the afterlife, you know, might be a thing. You know, they don't go outside of their book, because if they did, if they said, hey, you know, every people understood that there was an afterlife. You understand? They don't want to say that. They say, hey, look, we're going to tell you that there's an afterlife, and I'm not going to say every people. I'm just going to say that, you know, that's something that they could have said, right? But they're going to say, we understand there's an afterlife, and because we understand there's an afterlife, you know, believe in our afterlife and follow what we say. Follow what we say, and what we say is pretty much stop doing what you're doing and just come with us and do nothing. And that's why you're losing. That's why you're losing, because you're falling for it. You know, somebody else actually had an image. Let me actually read it. They had an image going over like the number of churches in the black community as opposed to in other communities. And actually, I wanna actually go over that list, because I think that might be an important thing to discuss. Because I don't really buy it. You know, there's more to it than the fact that you have churches, but it's a worthwhile graphic. And actually, maybe this might be the graphic. So it says China is currently the world's leading economic power. In China, there is 0 church. Now, I don't know if that's true, because I think that there's a lot of Chinese Christians, right? But let's go on. Finland has the most stable economy in the world. There are less than 20 churches in Finland. Switzerland has the second most stable economy in the world. Switzerland has fewer than 30 churches. Now, again, this is Eurocentric. This is Eurocentric in a sense. You know, this is about Europe. But there's a reason for that. You know, and there's a reason for this. You know, and again, it's more complicated than just church, but let's keep going. Denmark is the third most stable economy in the world. There are about 23 churches in Denmark, right? And bear in mind, these are not really the largest nation in the world, but you'll get it. You'll get to it soon enough. These countries are considered to have the highest number of atheists, but they are blessed. Come to Africa. There are more than 10,000 churches per region, including 4,000 churches in the city of Yaoundé alone. 4,100 churches in the only city of Abidjan, and then 7,000 churches in the only city of Kinshasa. This person just had bad grammar, but whatever. All right, 10,000 churches in the only city of Kumasi and Accra in Ghana only, which is 430 times more numerous than the whole of Switzerland. In Africa, we have more churches than schools and hospitals combined, more pastors than doctors. Everyone is born again. Everyone is covered with the blood of Jesus. Jesus even became the husband of all single women, according to them, in revival churches. Everyone is filled with the Holy Spirit. However, none of these claims reflect the moral elevation that is hoped for in a society, right? So maybe I might put this as the graphic. Who knows, right? The idea, though, is, and if I do, just look up Amon and look at the images. There's one that's pretty sick, right? But that's the crux of it. That's the crux of it. I mean, it's not the crux of it. I mean, it's more to it than just, you know, whether you have churches or not. But again, like I said, you know, these are centers for national destruction. They are telling you, don't do anything, don't build anything. Sit down and pray. Sit down and pray. And hopefully things will go your way. And actually, I know a sister that's like that, man. I tell you, you know, there's a difference between spirituality and spirituality. You know, these white folk want you to have their system so that you could be a good according to them. You know, so you could follow, so that you could be, so that you could like the basis of your moral character, if you will, is going to be what basically obedient to them, you know. So And this is why I kind of like, you know, don't really mess with it too much, because essentially you're being taught to do for them. You know, thou shalt not, like I read a poem a long time ago. It's basically thou shalt not kill for the master, you know, or kill the master. Sorry. You shouldn't kill the master or from the master, or thou shalt not steal from the master, something like that, right? And the whole idea is that the whole, you know, what is basically considered ethical is not doing bad against other people. You understand? But which basically amounts to even if it's at the cost of your own person. And what happened was, I know this sister who was like, basically she's praying or whatever, she's asking for money, and maybe let's say the ancestors heard her and heard her cry, heard her plea. So there was somebody walking in front of her, right, who dropped a lot of money. Okay, a lot of money, like let's say $3,000, right? And this is kind of what the money that she's looking for, right? They dropped this kind of money right in front of her. And so in a spiritual sense, you would say, hey, look, that's a symbol. Now maybe it's a trap. Maybe the context, you know, maybe there are people around her that might say, you know, hey, you know, we'll kill her for whatever. Or maybe it's a trap. But again, in a spiritual sense, that's a symbol. It's a sign. You know, you're asking for it and you receive it. But you know what she does from a Christian sense? She calls to the guy, not once, not twice, 3 times, and says, hey, you dropped your money. And now she's finna be evicted. You understand? She's finna lose her money. You understand? Because she's finna lose her place because she needed that money. And even though it came to her, it's like, what more do you want? Even that. When magic, you ask for magic and it happens. Even that. Because you were taught, you were Christianized, right? You said, okay, here you go. And I'm not saying that I wouldn't necessarily return the money. I'm not saying that. But it's just a plain sight. You're taught to work against your own self. You're taught to work against your own interests. You know, because there's an intelligent way to pick up money off the floor. You understand? Or even to say, hey, you know, blah, 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 blah. I've been praying for a lot of money and blah. Yeah, something like that. But it just, you know, and that's the reality. Now, I'm not saying that every Christian person, every deeply Christian, deeply quote-unquote religious person wouldn't take the money. Okay? I'm not saying that. But what I'm expressing to you is because I had a similar experience when I was younger, where I kind of went against my own interests, hard body. And then later on I realized, you know what, I see what my mistake was. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I relate that story to. Just the reality that sometimes you would, like if you don't need money, you're probably not going, you know what I'm saying? But if you was actually literally begging, like it's like this, what else do you want? What else do you expect? How else do you expect money? Money falls into your lap and then you return it. You don't want it. You know what I'm saying? Because and you got to understand that. It's really that simple. It's not really that complicated. But let's go back to this. I just wanted to share with y'all. Yeah, others are busy and healthy and now they're gone. You know, it's like so stupid. Okay, but you're supposed to be doing something productive while you're here. This is why you can't be, if people are telling you don't be productive, don't go to them. You understand? They're telling you don't be productive. You know, and of course, you know, I confronted somebody who brought this stuff to me. And they're like, no, they're saying you can do both. No, that's not what they're saying. They're saying, look, you gotta be, you gotta be blah, 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 blah. You know, and the instructions is not, you know, do both. It's not come to the church and let's let's serve our people, let's build up our community, yada, yada. No, it's come to the church and worship with us. You understand? This is a center for national destruction. But you don't understand that. You're just like, the church is just, you know, blah, blah, blah. You know, best you're like, you know, it's probably a Wazungu, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes you might be like, well, we should build our own religion, blah, blah, blah. But you don't understand. You're supposed to have centers for national building, nation building. You understand? And that's why you should have been hitting me up. Should be saying, hey, Oni, how can I organize with you? You could be saying, hey, Oni, I got the Pro-Black Compendium. I read it. I loved it. I got one for my friends. And now we be trying to build something. You know, there was a brother who I called up, a good brother. And we were talking, and he was like, hey, Oni, you want to hang out? And I'm like, no, dude, I don't got no time to hang out. I got to put out these other books. You understand? I got to do something on this earth. I can't just hang out and chat and talk. I mean, if you want to hang out for, like, you know, some other reasons, sure. But if you just want to hang out and chill, no, dude. You're a dude. You know, and if two dudes is gonna meet up, they gotta be building something. They gotta be, like, shoot, like putting like wood in the ground kind of thing. I'm not gonna just meet up with a dude. You know, what's that? I mean, if I want to talk to you, we just use technology. We use the phone. You know, I mean, unless we talk about something private, then we might meet up, of course. But you ain't talking nothing private. You wanna run through history with me? Come on. So then we just run through history. You know, white boy already know history. It's his story. You know what I'm saying? It's his story. Of course he knows it. Anyway, the laughing voice. Yeah. So everything's silent. Let's go on. Let's see. Give your conscience time to answer. Yeah. So again, heaven and hell. You know. Again, that's why you don't mess with the Muslims. The Nation of Islam. The whole devil talk. The whole hell talk. It's just. You're already falling in their stupid trap. You don't need to like. I'm not saying like if you like in our way, you be a good African, you get the afterlife. Your descendants hold your name up. You know, so on and so forth. Like for instance, to this day, my mother be telling me about how her father was an intelligent man. You know what I'm saying? He's an intelligent man, and I'm gonna live with that. My grandfather was an intelligent man, or even like there were warriors in my past. Like Maroons. So I could tell my son, hey, our ancestors were Maroons. We fought for the liberation of our people from jump. We took people off of plantation. I don't know necessarily what they did in particular. I don't know if they were the people that were saved. No, actually I do. They were several generations of Maroons. You understand? So that's something that lives because they did good. They did good. Now I'm not saying that there wasn't some of my ancestors that didn't do good. Maybe I don't know. But they don't live on. You understand? We don't be. I doubt that I have any that were like selling anybody. But if I did have any that was selling anybody, we don't talk about them. Or even like unfortunately, I might have some shake the tree and some mulatto falls out. We don't talk about them. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't even know where they at. You know what I'm saying? I don't even know where they at, but apparently, I don't even want to get emotional or nothing, so I'm not even going to talk about that anymore. But the whole thing is that they don't, there's no respect for the particular people that made the mulattoes. You understand? Even notwithstanding the fact that they might have, like there's no, oh yeah, well that's my, forget it. But again, we go back to that. They quote in their own book, and yeah, it's just so stupid. Then they have the captain example, the captain of the lifeboat example. Captain of the lifeboat example kind of reminds you of the Booker T. Washington, right? The Booker T. Washington example. It's not the same, but it's kind of the same, right? Like it's almost exactly the same, but with the exception that the Booker T. Washington example is a little bit more silly, right? Well, I mean it's a little more accurate, but it's a little more silly too. But the yeah, they're like, hey, look, we're the only vessel. And you see how they position themselves. We're the only ones. They don't go outside of themselves. They don't say, hey, there's more than one way. They don't say yada yada. They give it to you, and they give it to you so authoritatively because they cite in books. They're not saying it's my opinion. They're citing books, but it's all the same book. Still, they're citing books. And it's ridiculous. But at the same time, you can see how somebody could go along with this. And then it comes to us, and we have to see what should we be doing? You understand? What should we be doing? Because what we're doing is different, And I'm not saying, and the thing is that if you gotta read, like you want to read books, you want to tell people to read books, So you got like, for instance, the book club from KWAZ Radio, You have the book club. Definitely participate in that because they're giving out good. We're reading really good books. Matter of fact, this next book is Destruction of Black Civilization. You should read that every year. You should read that every year, right? But the whole thing is that look how they make it easy. Now they're gonna read. You're gonna go there and you're gonna read a book with them, a big book. You're gonna read it with them. All you reading together. Getting a lecture on the short stuff that you're reading, right? But they also got these little pamphlets that cite the book, and they make the book as the only book you should be reading. And the thing is that we don't have that in our community. We don't have the only book you should be reading. We don't have a study group for one book all the time. And matter of fact, though, I mean, I shouldn't say we don't have, but it's not like there is. I know of one group that did do that, but and that was for a good book, matter of fact, too. But the reality is that we don't have that, and because we don't have that, you got to ask yourself, what are you doing to attract people into your cause? What are you doing to attract people into the BOCO? And you're seeing what they're doing. They picked the book. Now, I would say pick the Pro-Black Compendium. That's what I would say. Or even maybe pick the next book I'm writing. Pick the next book I'm writing and have that as, hey, look, we're going to have a BOCO. We're going to have a BOCO and we're going to go over this stuff we're going to go over this every week. Every week. Every Sunday or every Saturday or whatever. We're going to go over, or every Wednesday, who cares? We're going to meet at this location, and we're going to go over this book. Every day. I mean, every week. And we're going to send out pamphlets that quote this book. But y'all don't want to do that. If you wanted to do that, hit me up. Because I could actually do a GoFundMe. We could work on making pamphlets. We could work on delivering pamphlets, all that kind of crap. If you want to do that, hit me up. But you don't want to do that. You want to sit down. You want to tell people, go read a book. You want to tell people, you want to quote. You want to what's his face? Tweet. You want to do nothing. Or you want to sit down and be like, yeah, I'm organizing because I did so and so. No. If you don't want to do anything. Or you want to just listen to YouTube videos. You want to just whine about the FBI agents. You want to just watch the FBI agents. You want to just get it. No, if you want to do something, hit me up. Say, look, Oni, I think that idea I think a Center for Nation Building sounds great. I want to do that in my community. Let's start that now while you write this book. While you write this next book, let's start that right now. I want to be a priest of this next book. This next book, let's make it our spiritual text. Okay, if you want to do that, hit me up. Because you don't want to do that, whatever. Right? Just get the books. All right? Just get the books. But understand that there's stuff that needs to be done. There's stuff that needs to get going. And in the meantime, like I said, hit up the KWAZ Radio. Hit up the book club. Because again, you're supposed to be reading these books that they have. Once a month, you should be reading a different book. And they selecting the books for you once a month and have an intelligent conversation on it. You understand? So they're already doing kind of what I'm saying. So get it done. Go read that too. Listen to that right there. And all that. But much respect, much love. We're probably I might actually do print out some pamphlets and get people meeting up. So if you want to be a priest of the ABS or the priest of the Ancobia, now's your time. All right, now's your time. But until we talk again, Shemi Hotep, Uncle Ja, Seneb Neb, Amen Ma'at, Dua Necha.
Greetings, everyone. This is Koku from the Bitter Medicine Podcast, inviting you to tune in to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio. Greetings, family. This is Koku, host of the Bitter Medicine Podcast. In case you didn't know, we have an online book club called the Bitter Medicine Book Club. Every month, we will select a book to inspire the Bitter Medicine Podcast listening audience to read along together. At the end of the month, we will have a call-in show and book discussion. This is a great, dynamic way for readers to not only enjoy a book, but also have others to bounce ideas off of. They say if you want to keep anything away from black people, put it in a book. Don't allow this to be true. Head over to bittermedicineblogs.com and subscribe to our newsletter for important updates. Do that today. Join our reading collective today and empower yourselves, your family, and your community. Peace and blessings. You are listening to the Pro-Black Perspective on KWAZ Radio.
Thank you for listening. I invite you to join hands with your brothers and sisters as we recite the African affirmation together. It's a call and response, so follow my lead. We are an African people, robbed from our homeland, robbed of our names, our languages, our cultures, our religions, our womanhood, our manhood, our sisterhood, our brotherhood, our motherhood, our fatherhood, our selfhood, our nationhood, and our self-respect. But we shall rise, never to fall again. Up, you mighty race, you can accomplish what you will. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. No justice. No peace.